Welcome to the Direct Sales Masterclass. I'm McKinley Oswald, the President of Global Sales here at Verb. I am super excited about our guest today for this masterclass. Chrissy Weems, she's the CEO and founder of Origami Owl, and their story is one of my favorites in the industry, and I'm so excited for her to come on and share. Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that really matter to building a successful long-term company within the industry. Those things are culture, intention, and mission. And Origami Owl, they live that. It's in their DNA. You can feel it. Chrissy's going to talk about that, how when you go to their events, when you go to their headquarters, to the Nest, you can feel the culture. And it's such a great story, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Chrissy, thanks a ton for joining us. We know you're super busy, and we're excited to have you here on the Direct Sales Masterclass.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys as well.
Awesome. Well, Origami Owl is one of my favorite stories within the industry. So in a minute, we're going to get into that, but I want to tell, our viewers a little bit first of, my intro to the Origami Owl story. So this was a few years back. The Direct Selling Association did an on-site meeting at the Nest, at the Origami Owl headquarters. And I was amazed. I went in there and just everything, you could feel the culture. We're going to talk a little bit about this. The culture is a live, energetic, vibrant thing. And one of the things that really stood out to me is Chrissy and her team presented was the strength of their culture, their mission, and how they put intention into everything they do. And so we asked Chrissy to come on and share some thoughts. And then I've also got JJ. JJ works very closely with the Origami Owl team, with their technology, with the promotions, with things that they're doing, and has some great insights into what their team does. So we want to talk about that a little bit today. But Chrissy, I thought we'd start out, maybe give our viewers and listeners a little bit of insights into how you were introduced to direct sales. It's such a great story with how things started with Bella and how your family came to start this amazing company.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited to be here today. You know what? Looking back, it almost seems crazy when you say it. Like when I go back and I start talking about the inception of Origami Owl and how far we've come, it almost seems like it's impossible. And yet I lived through it. And so a little bit of the history, just for those of you who haven't heard our story or know anything about us. So my daughter Bella, when she was 14, came to her dad and I and said, when she was 14 at the time, she said, when I'm 16, I want you to buy me a new car. And we were literally like, I bet you do. But I come from a home of a single mom. We struggled growing up, and my husband and I worked for everything we had. No one paid for our college. No one paid for anything. We did it. And so that concept was foreign to us. We said, nope, but let's give you some ideas. And so we talked about what she could do. She babysat for a while, which she thought that was going to take forever. And we said, what if you start a business? We were both entrepreneurial and said, hey, what can you do? She'd earned some money. We matched it, and we started buying pieces of glass lockets. Lockets have been around since the 16th century. It's amazing, like keepsake pieces. And we would go and get earrings at Claire's and cut off the backs and just super scrappy. I mean, random crazy things to make charms. Long story short, for the beginning of Origami Owl, we started selling to friends and in what you would call then a home party. Then started doing little craft shows at schools, boutiques. We actually had our first investor, Tyson, come in, and we signed a 60-day lease at a mall kiosk. He had to pay for the lease because we couldn't afford to pay for product and a lease for the kiosk, 60 days, and it just went exceptionally well. Well, that was over holiday. So Black Friday 2010 is when we started in the mall kiosk. And everyone started getting Origami Owl for Christmas and for Hanukkah. And so beginning of the new year, Bella's phone just started to ring. We were foolish enough to put her business card in every single little package that went out. Little did we know what was going to happen. So January of 2011, the phone was ringing off the hook. Everyone wanted to know, where can we get Origami Owl? Is it available in a store near me? And we're like, no, this is a 14-year-old's business. And what's amazing about that is that we realized that if Bella could have that success in Little Chandler, Arizona, then other women could too. And that's really where the inception of moving into social selling was born.
I love that part. For me, the coolest part is proving that a 14-year-old girl who started taking phone calls in between classes and answering messages, that she built a business. And I mean, that is direct sales at its pure DNA, right?
It
And
is.
so then the model of being able to take that and do that, and I think that part of the story I just love. And a key part too for me with Origami Owl is your products, where so much of it ties to the customer and their personal stories and creating a connection to that. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, how Origami Owl connects. It's creating that human connection and sharing stories, which again is another key part of direct sales.
Yeah, so I think that's important because a lot of you out there listening probably have no idea who we are. And so, what we started with and have evolved since then, but we specialize in meaningful storytelling jewelry. It's who we are, it's at the core of our company, connecting people with the moments that matter most in life. So, a living locket is a glass locket. You take charms and share your story. So Bella tells a story of one of the most memorable lockets she ever created, which was a woman who came and asked to put two sunflowers in a locket. And I had taught Bella, 1, 3, or 5. You want to go odd numbers. And this woman was insistent on only two sunflowers. So Bella had recommended other things, and the woman said no. And she's like, well, what's the significance of the two sunflowers? And the woman shared with Bella that she had been pregnant with twins, and that she had decorated their room in sunflowers and lost the twins. And what a lesson for Bella, 14 years old, and really connecting with people in a way that these days a lot of people don't connect. And that's really the magic of what we do, the customizable piece. And everyone is different. We were really the first in the space to have any sort of customizable jewelry, and it's led to be a pretty amazing adventure.
No, and I love that. For me, it's the power of, this is an industry that is built around telling stories, and great storytellers, great products are those who attract people, make that connection. And so thanks for sharing that. And it really is a personal aspect that the best companies have that identity. They know their culture, they know who they are, and they connect with people. So, JJ, excuse me, I want to jump over a little bit now to talk a little bit about the culture of Origami Owl. So, when you first started working with them, let's talk about your first impressions, the things you've seen, and then Chrissy can tell us the story of how they really narrowed in and dialed in on what that culture is, and how they really strive to keep that within the company and with their independent distributors as well.
Well, I have always, like you, McKinley, have always admired the Origami Owl story and watched from the dramatic growth that took place with that company. And I'll never forget, from the very first time I actually went, like you, when you went into the corporate office, you could just feel the culture. It was just a different, and all of the leadership, at the executive leadership that we met with, I was always impressed with them. And then when you take it to the next step, where I actually attended some of the national events and the national conventions, the culture just bleeds into the room and into all the people. I've been to hundreds of different
Right.
Events throughout the years, and it was just so amazing. And I just can't tell you how impressed I was with the culture. It was distinct and different, and in a really, really good way. And so, Chrissy, we'd love to hear a little bit more about what you did to develop such a strong culture within your company.
Yeah. So, and thank you. I'm grateful that you recognize that and feel that, because what we have is really special. And, from the inception of Origami Owl, our founders are Bella, myself, and then I have two partners, Sean and Tyson. And what was really important to us from the very beginning was the intention. So at the core, at the intention, and this very center of Origami Owl, is a true desire to make a positive ripple effect in the world, to create literally more love, more connection, more light, more kindness, more storytelling, and to improve and empower people's lives. And so everything that we do really, it stems from the core. Our first core value as a company is to abide by the golden rule, and we smack everything up against that thing, right? Like, some terrible situation happens and we say, okay, well, how would we want to be treated in this in this circumstance. And so I think that, it really is palpable. I mean, you can feel it. I can feel it all these years later, and you'd think I'd be immune to it, but you can feel it. Our field, our team at the Nest, they're very symbiotic. They actually, I would say, have a relationship. Our field and our team at the Nest, which is our corporate office, we've cultivated a relationship there, and we stand united in our mission. I'm telling you right now, I really think the majority of our employees could recite our mission, and a vast majority of our field could as well.
And I love that. In your office, right, you have those IKEA tables that you added vinyl to that has the mission on there. And, it's one thing you see companies, and we work with a lot of companies. Sometimes you see a company, they're like, okay, we need to define what our culture is, or we need to come up with a mission statement, and it's something that they put on a website and then they forget about it, right, and move on. But really with you guys, I love that aspect. So maybe tell us a little bit about, I love the intention aspect. And we talked briefly about looking at successful companies like Zappos. You loved their culture and put that in place. So what were some of those things that stood out that you had takeaways and said, these are things we're going to make a part of our company?
So let me share our mission first. So you guys can
please do.
Hear it so you understand what really is the backbone. Our mission is to be a force for good, to love, inspire, and motivate people of all ages to reach their dreams and empower them to make a difference in the lives of others. And in that is that ripple, right? You change one, you help one, you're kind to one, and these random acts of goodness and kindness begin to happen. So things that we put in place from the beginning, and one that I think really led to a tremendous amount of success was hiring and firing on cultural fit. So it's really challenging, especially in this industry and especially for startups, because when we came in, we literally knew nothing other than the fact that we knew we had a great product that people loved and that other women could have success like Bella did. And so everything everyone else was doing, like, we actually tried to do the opposite. We talked to consumer first, and this was in 2010. We really weren't talking to a field. We were attracting customers. In the same vein, everyone kept saying, you need direct selling experts. You need someone who's been around. You need someone who can navigate this thing. And guess what? When we brought in people that had a vast amount of experience, it actually was a tug a little bit with what we were trying to do, because I think that people know what they know. And we were trying to innovate in this space and do something that had never been done before. But the piece around hiring and firing on cultural fit, I'll tell you what, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. And when you have people that are truly aligned in your mission and in your core values and your desire to reach the goals of the company, it shines through in everything that you do. Likewise, you guys have all experienced it in your own businesses, I'm sure. Someone who's negative or a dissenting opinion. Now, listen, I love dissenting opinions, right? Because I believe that's what makes us stronger. But, when someone's in the background and just, not abiding by how we want the company run from a cultural perspective, those people had to go. And it's hard when you grow relationships and love people. But you have to do what's best. And any of you who are business owners out there, you have to do what's best to protect your core. Because without that, you've got nothing.
No, and I think that's the key part for me, right? Where you may say, hey, this person's resume does this and all these amazing things. But if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. And it really can detract. But at the same time, even if you don't agree on everything, but everyone has bought into that culture and mission, amazing things can happen. I think that's one of the takeaways I've had from our other conversations is it's not about having a bunch of, yes men, yes women, people who are going to do everything that you think, right? No, it's about having a team that's going to find the best solution for that mission and culture. And I think the impressive thing for me is, you're talking about some things here that you've done with corporate and hiring, but your culture has, bled into the field completely. And so, Jay, I thought maybe you could tell us a little bit about attending, the origami events and just that culture in that field. You and I, like you said, we've attended hundreds, maybe even thousands of events over the past 25 years, right? So we've seen it all. And the origami events are unlike any other. So maybe tell us, what that experience was like the first time you went and the things that stood out on how the field also has bought into this culture.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned before, the first time I went to the event, I was just amazed, and I'll never forget sitting in the back of the room. There must have been 5,000 people sitting in that convention center, and just everything from seeing you and Bella on stage, and then having it just bleed into the other leaders that were on stage, and then even more so, watching the audience just in how engaged they were, and many of them will raise their little hands and demonstrate with a little heart and providing support and giving back. And so I have just always been amazed. And so Chrissy, we'd love to hear a little bit about your event strategy, and maybe share with us a little bit about what during this pandemic. I mean, here we are, we're approaching a year in with COVID-19, and many clients obviously that we work with, like you, have to transition into a more virtual experience. And how have you been able to maintain effective events and be able to have some of that touchy-feely experience that you would normally have in person, but you've been able to do that with your virtual events?
Okay, I will chat about that. And first, let me just say, for all of us in this industry, it is hard. It is hard to have COVID as a barrier. I don't think there's any one of us who haven't suffered the effects of having that disconnection and trying to figure out how to stay connected. I mean, honestly, we all have those events every single year, and it's people coming together that makes such an impact. I think that what really drove and drives the conviction around our culture in the field is that we live it, we breathe it, they feel it, and we have enlisted them along with us on a mission that's bigger than ourselves, being a part of something bigger, getting out there and making an impact in the world. We do a lot around pay it forward day, and ensuring that we are constantly inspiring random acts of kindness and goodness in the world. And so I really think that it is based on, they feel it coming from us. And when you model that and they know this isn't a gimmick, it's just like who we are. It's in the DNA of all of our founders and our team members at the Nest. And so I think that exudes. I think the other piece of it is, we care about them. To me, we call them designers. Some of you might be distributors or consultants. Our designers are everything. I mean, other than God and my family, I live and breathe for these people's success. I think about what they're going through in their life. What's happening? What successes do they need to have? What things are they struggling with? And I think that they feel that compassion and empathy and genuine desire to help their life be better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the perfect, corollary for me with that, where it's when they can feel that, when you can have that connection with the field, that's when I think you really get people to buy in and be on the same page. Because I've seen great executive teams, but then it gets lost in translation. But I think one of the great things about your culture is it's adopted by both, the field and corporate. And I love how you say that. Many of your designers can recite the mission statement from memory. And so it's a part of everything you guys do. And I just love that. Now, you told us a little bit about how, during COVID, you've been able to adopt, getting successful stories or people who are struggling. It's not all about, hey, we've got this promotion and everything's fine and dandy, but how have you been able to take people's stories of overcoming difficulties during this time and be able to apply that to your events, to make these online events successful and make them real, where then it becomes applicable with good takeaways?
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that when we chatted about that, that I brought up is that, every company has top achievers. You have those who are just defying every odd known to man, the runners, the ones who, like, you're in awe of what they do. And then you have the mid group, and then you kind of have everyone else. Well, I think we're really purposeful in not just promoting and talking about those and sharing those who have wild success, right? Because everyone wants to hear from the successful guy. They want to know, hey, what are they doing so I can duplicate it? But we also chat to and share the stories of those who are struggling, who are saying, hey, here's what's going on, and here's what I'm trying to do, so that there's so that it's relatable. Because the realistic the realistic view of most of our demographics world is they're working a part or full-time job,
Right.
trying to get their we have a predominantly female demographic, trying to get the laundry done, dinner on the table for the kids, and then now you add in homeschool and all of the insanity of 2020, right? So in our events, we really tried to meet people with understanding and say, hey, we see where you are. We understand that it's been a tough year, and that's okay. Let's give you some tools so that you can be successful even through the adversity that every one of us is facing. So it's tough. I mean, the online world and virtual events are not the same. And yet I think through connectivity, emotion, storytelling, that we've done a pretty decent job in staying connected with our designers.
And I love that concept. And whether you're able to get them, live to present, or you mentioned sometimes recording someone beforehand and sharing that, right? Depending on your technology, can be a way to maximize that. Now, I want to transition a little bit where something really unique that you guys started in 2011, I think before, ahead of its time, where, talking about going to where your people are, right? And some of that was, a lot of people are constantly pushing on the customer, right? Whereas you talk more about pulling people in. I think this goes back to your culture, right? This ripple effect and these connections that you're making. And so a lot of companies, I think, make the mistake on their social of, hey, they're talking just to their designers, to their business builders and that audience. Whereas you guys went the opposite way and you were pulling people in to Origami Owl. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, the strategy behind that. And I think now a lot of people are trying to do that, but that's been, since day one, what you guys have done, right?
Yeah. So we had pre-launch in 2011, and our official launch January of 2012. And we, from the very get-go, wanted to make sure that we were a company that was creating relationships with customers. So on social media, which was pretty new back then, honestly, right. We presented value and content for our consumer when a lot of the industry at that time were really just talking to their field. And that, I think that was a bit unique. Looking back, I think of the influences, and you brought up Zappos. Our team flew up to Vegas and toured Zappos. We read, and for any of you who haven't read it, go and read it, Delivering Happiness by the late Tony Hsieh. That book came out, I believe, in 2010, and here we are launching in 2011. And so we really looked at that as really as a guiding light, if you will, of who we wanted to be. With that, what I would say is you don't make it about, it's not about us. It's not about Bella. It's not about Chrissy. It's not about the founders. It's not even about the product. It's really about the customers and what they need. So as far as our launches go and how we introduce new product collections, we look at the seasonality of where our customer is in her life. So where our designer is, where our customer is, what is she going through? We talk about, okay, it's August. What is happening? All right. So in a normal world, back to school is happening. What does she need? And then we look at how, as a company, we can help meet her needs and provide value to her life. I think sometimes we get on a rigid, we look at the product timeline or the pipeline of how things are coming through. And oftentimes we barrel down the same path we have in the past. But, stepping back and taking a look and saying, okay, where is our customer, he or she? What are they doing right now? And where can we provide value for their life? And that has been something that we have, woven through from the beginning. And I think it's served us well, because they also then in turn know, hey, wait a minute, this is about me. It's not necessarily about them. It's about what they can do for my life. They feel that.
Yeah, and I love that. That comes back to the intention part. And whether you're a direct sales company, like Origami Owl, or our other viewers and listeners, you may have a health supplement, or it may be a service that you're offering. But this relates because going to where your customer is, where they're at, what they're experiencing, and it becomes about the customer. I think the industry has made a great shift in the past few years. And the great thing about your story is it was that way from day one. There's companies now that are saying, how do we create this customer journey and experience? But you guys have have had that from the beginning. One other thing I want to touch on is how effectively you guys use technology to enable your designers to effectively promote these promotions. And so whether it's a new product launch that you have, and I remember one day when we did the tour, right, for DSA, I remember Bella being back in that room with the green screen and you guys were launching on Facebook, and it was for your customers. Sure, there were designers participating, but it is all customer related. And so you've also given the tools. We've really enjoyed working with your company with the app where you send a push notification at the start of the month saying, hey, here's the promotions for the month. You're enabling them to go out and then get to where, you know, their customers, where their people are, where they're making connections. So maybe tell us a little bit about that technology and how, you know, they're able to use the promotions that you run and social selling to connect with, you know, their friends, family, people that they have on social media.
Yeah, and we have always since 2012 we've called ourselves a social selling business, and it really wasn't even about social media, but just being social and connective. We've never identified as quote direct sales company, even though we're in the direct sales space that we love and we love what it does for people's lives. I have to tell you, it has been utilizing the Verb app. Honestly, has been pivotal. It has absolutely been instrumental in the way that our designers can have success in reaching their customer. And, a lot of times, I am and my team is, we look at data constantly, right? What is this doing? A/B testing. How is the customer responding to X, Y, or Z? And not only does it give us the data, but really, and honestly, more importantly, it's giving our designer the tools right at her fingertips, because let's be honest, everyone is glued to their phone.
Yeah.
And, the days of big clunky back office, I believe, are gone. And I have to say to JJ, how grateful I am. I mean, you guys have just been such an incredible partner. And I think we're bringing you along in our journey and you're bringing us along in your journey. And it has been instrumental in helping our designers have the tools. We create a lot of content for our field. We encourage them to create content as well, but we know people are busy and it's difficult to duplicate what one or another person can do. And so we create unique shareable content, and the technology has been life-changing for us, really has.
Yeah, and I think one of those things, right, you talk about the designer, right, that she's busy. She likely works a part-time job. She's got to cook dinner. She's got, laundry. And then if she can just quickly go to a phone-based business and be able to share from her app, that's the beauty of the technology. And the Verb app is them being able to then, it becomes easier. It's a few taps and she's building her business, right? So Jay, maybe you can share us a little bit. You have a very unique partnership with Chrissy's team. Tell us some of the ways that they're using the data, using the app, and how you've seen some of their success tie in to what Chrissy's talking about.
One of the things that's impressed me the most, and I believe you guys approach this as an entire team, and they approach the technology from a very strategic perspective. And Chrissy mentioned the data-driven approach to everything they do. And inside of the technology, they do a really good job, the entire marketing department, in providing a library of social media shareables that will help promote, existing products, new products that are about to come out, promotions and other things. And then even working with some of the team members where they can actually go in and analyze and say, okay, this type of image is working better than that type of image, or this type of image produced this many clicks to our website, and actually being able to demonstrate what type of impact is happening, and then adjusting the strategy based upon what they're actually seeing. And so hats off to you guys, Chrissy, and your entire team, and the way that you approach it strategically. I always tell a lot of my clients, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well does the respective client that we work with maximize our technology? And 1 being not very good, and 10 being really, really effectively using it. And Origami Owl is one of those 9, 10 players in the industry that really understand it, and they approach it from a very strategic perspective, even from your level, Chrissy. I really admire that in you, in getting into the details and understanding it well enough, then empowering your team to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But so there's a little bit of feedback, and again, we too are grateful for the experience that we've had in working with you over the years, and really being a partner with you. It's been a fun ride, and we just admire everything that you guys do as a company.
Yeah, and I want to echo that, Chrissy, from my first time, going in and seeing that. Like I said, we see JJ and I, this is in our family, our blood, the industry, right? We've seen so many companies, and it's just been so impressive. We're really grateful for the partnership. We're excited about, where we're going together, what Live is going to do, what the continuation of things we're doing, and just we're really excited, and know that we're here cheering you on, and are excited to partner with Origami. So thanks a ton for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
You know what? Thank you. And I got to give big shout out to my whole team. JJ, you work with Jen and the marketing team, and they're just phenomenal. I mean, they do this for us. They help, and thank you for the partnership. You guys have been instrumental in helping us grow, and we've had great times and tough times like everybody else, but we're going to keep on fighting to make a difference, and appreciate your support.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Yeah.
Bye.